LA Rams at the Detroit Lions. Great game, great narrative. The Lions are 3.5 point favorites. It opened at 4. We talked about it on Sunday. As it was at 4, it was moving to 3.5. We all slammed it at 3.5. It's kind of just settled there. Couple of questions. How much does Sam Laporta being out matter? How much can this Rams offense light up a Lions defense that is graded fourth worst against pass coverage by Pro Football Focus? Rams have been one of the best teams in the league at passes completed 20 yards or more downfield. Sean McVay as an underdog, 21-16-2 against the spread. I mean, we like the Rams here.
Simon says take the Rams plus 3.5.
Simon says LA Rams plus 3.5.
And I told you I do bet differently in the playoffs, and this is a big situation of how I bet it differently, where I'm not as terrified to take certain public dogs, and this would be a spot with that, where it's just like I think a lot of pros who do like the lines, I don't really trust their reasoning behind it, where it's like it's just them kind of bad mouthing this Rams team and their defense, where I don't know if I go through it, I feel like the Rams, even though they had no first round picks for freaking 10 years and no second round picks, and all these guys they drafted in these fourth and fifth rounds have worked out. They have a couple guys they've drafted on the defensive line who no one's going to know their names. I don't even know their names, and they've really helped Aaron Donald. Like they've, if you didn't know, Aaron Donald had another amazing season, but I
Yeah.
know he's not been mentioned just because he didn't have the usual season that he does, where it's like, you know, 50 pressures and 15 sacks. Like, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, those guys just had such incredible seasons that they kind of left Darnold for, out of the conversation of winning the defensive MVP. But he's played incredible this season. Like Chad already talked about it. Like these receivers they have, Cooper Kupp and Puka, and then Williams in the backfield. Like it's all there for this Rams team, and they're one of my favorite dark horses for making a Super Bowl run out of this NFC. Like there's no other team I really feel like that can beat the 49ers right now in the NFC than this team, the Rams. It's the honest truth. Like, have zero faith in the Eagles, have zero faith in Dallas. Like, all these guys have to go to play against the 49ers at, you know, a stadium that's just rocking. It's hard to back all these guys who aren't going to be these veteran quarterbacks, where it's like Stafford has it all checked off. He's used to playing against the 49ers. He knows their system, all this stuff, but it all starts here. And arguably the most emotional game of the entire weekend, right? Like he put out a 10-minute video just talking about what Detroit means to him and how it made him from like a boy from college, from Georgia, into the man he is now. And it's like a really heartfelt message. And how is that not going to be wearing him? That's definitely going to be in Stafford's head, but that's canceled out by Goff. Like what we talked about with Goff, where it's like that's another side where he's gonna have to control his rage and him seeing red, because this is the definition of a revenge spot, right? We talked about it. It's like the Rams literally told the man, we're gonna get someone that can actually get us to the promised land. We're gonna go replace you with Stafford, a guy we believe that can get us there. We don't believe in you, even though you just got us to a Super Bowl 2 years before. We're moving on. He talked about it. He'd kind of given up on himself. He had lost faith, where it's like he had a ton of self-doubt. And Campbell and Ben Johnson built it back these last 3-4 years, and both teams won. Like we say it all the time, Detroit won the trade, the Rams won the trade. It's the rare both teams won, and it's only fitting they're playing in this first round. But I don't get that number. I don't really get what the pros are saying here when they're like, this Detroit team is so clearly better. I just don't see it that way. Now you're factoring Laporte is out. That's such a huge deal. It is such a big deal. Who the number one tight end in football? It's crazy to say, but he is by the numbers the number one tight end in football. So much stuff they design around him. It's a big deal. So me and Chad joked about before coming on here that Laporte is out. We're gonna like them, and then you mix in the fact that Nick Mullins almost put his team in a spot to win against the same Detroit team last week. They just don't have the guys on defense to get stops. So Stafford back against the wall. I love this spot. Like plus 3.5, taking the money line. It's the same thing when they had the Super Bowl run. People forget the public were actually on the Rams and taking them at plus 3.5 against the Bucks, and they won that game outright. I mean, most people remember this. They bet it. Brady was down like 28 points, came all
That's
the way
right.
back. Stafford had one of the most insane throws ever to Cooper Kupp, put them in the field to kick a field goal to win. It's like they've been this spot before. So incredible story for Detroit. Just I feel like it's a terrible matchup for them. Like if they would have caught the Eagles, that's the dream scenario where it's like they I think they would have beat the Eagles or whoever, but the Rams, I think they're a better team right now. I'm going to back this team. So it's the more public play of the week for me, but I love the Rams here.
Sam Laporta, you mentioned tight end. He had 10 touchdowns in his rookie year. Sam Laporta, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Ditka. 82 receptions is the most ever for a rookie tight end in NFL history, beating the
Crazy.
record set by Keith Jackson, former Philadelphia Eagle, not ABC broadcaster. But most important for what you were saying about how he impacts the Lions offense, second in receiving first downs for Detroit this year, second behind only Amon-Ra St. Brown. So there's an immediate safety valve component to this where Jared Goff will not have a guy who has become so important to how he executes the offense. A couple other
Hmm.
stats. Well, let's see. Home teams who missed the playoffs the year prior, Lions, 30-49 against the spread in the playoffs over the past 20 years. When those teams are favorites, 19 and 40, 32%.
Like that.
So we like both of those trends. By the way, the first trend includes Houston. So we don't like it for Houston if we're going to back Houston, but we like it for the Rams.